out of desperation, now they're going to sign this agreement also by only agree lo devalue Kina. Government lo marami going to work in this toto. Now only using this agreement lo na value Kina blame me come down. Me talk when the Savos government change, me put in board of no confidence in government change. First thing by me talking IMF, you review this agreement or you pass a motion go out. No government man bas in the middle of this. Currency na this la why na IMF work lo larab this la issue lo Kina work lo devalue go down. Plenty time me go lo public na me talking of the man or some. Be by me yet me no believe lo work lo IMF. IMF and also plenty countries I go all and also call him also and last bank where or not bank and not giving you lo money by you call this bank. They call it English also call him lender of last resort. So okay the bank pass lo you now to no do me na give me lo and this lot also you go last na. Time you go last month and by working kind of condition na by you agree also because you are desperate.
So I need to take issue slightly with your question. We have never called for a devaluation in the Kina. As part of the sort of IMF supported program, what we asked the government to do is to look at the exchange rate. And we've basically, our assessment is, and I think it's the government's assessment as well, is that the Kina is overvalued. And what we asked the government to do is to sort of remove that overvaluation, because it's that overvaluation which is creating the FX shortages.
IMF nonchalantly announced on their website that the Papua New Guinea government would be borrowing another 1 billion Kina. This is in addition to the 3.93 billion Kina that the government has already borrowed from the IMF, and this raises some serious questions about who is in charge of the PNG economy. This announcement wasn't made by the Treasurer or the Prime Minister. It was made by the IMF.
PNG performed in terms of meeting its external debt payments, especially with IMF and other multilateral institutions?
So, as I said, our financing is very cheap. It's and there's a long grace period. So, as soon as we begin lending, the country doesn't begin repaying anything back to the IMF for 5 years. And once it does begin paying back, it will be paying back at an interest rate of 2.8%. In terms of the country's meeting its external debt obligations, they haven't defaulted on any payment. And that's a credit to the government.
Now, with the IMF coming into the country, we expect that investor confidence should be improved. We expect that economic conditions should be improved. Yet, this crawl-peg depreciation strategy that they've applied to weaken the Kina, to boost exports, to reduce the trade deficit, has only been done to ensure that they make interest repayments. There's been no improvement to the economic growth or the economic situation in the country. Inflation has worsened as a result of the IMF's interventions.
To what extent do you engage or consult local interest groups, businesses and other multilateral institutions?
So that's a very significant part of my role here, is to always speak to the key stakeholders on the ground, to speak to NGOs, to speak to the business community. Our work is not just with the government, so that's the first point I'll make. And it's very important that I get a sense of what the views are on the ground, so I can convey those views back to Washington, and that can help inform our policy advice. You know, Papua New Guinea hasn't had an IMF representative on the ground for over 20 years. I'm the first one in over 20 years. And I'm here precisely for that reason, to gauge and to listen and to see what people's concerns are, so I can relay more accurately and in real time those concerns back to Washington, D.C. That's the first point. The second point is, as I said, the IMF has never recommended devaluation. All we've asked for is to introduce greater exchange rate flexibility. And the other thing that we've called for is our policies to begin to remove the overvaluation in the exchange rate. Because it is this overvaluation in the exchange rate that is causing the FX shortages, which in turn dampens investment spending, which in turn reduces GDP growth, which in turn pushes down wages, which in turn leads to a cost of living crisis. So if we want to deal with the cost of living crisis, the question we have to ask ourselves is how can we begin to push up wages? How can we begin to raise household incomes? And the only way we're going to do that is through investment and higher GDP growth, which will create more jobs, which in turn will push up household incomes. And the only way we're going to achieve that is to get rid of the FX shortages. How do we get rid of the FX shortages? We remove the Kina overvaluation.
Now, the IMF, being on the ground in Papua New Guinea, should augment overall investor confidence. In the last 5 years, this Marape government has borrowed more money than any other government in the history of the country. Now we have taken national debt up to 65 billion Kina. We have taken debt to GDP ratio to over 53%, and we have failed to achieve our revenue projections with respect to taxation, with respect to borrowing, and with respect to quantitative easing or the printing of money. Yet, this government sees fit to borrow more money through the IMF. So who's calling the shots? This government, the Marape government, has failed in the last 5 years to bring in just one single foreign direct investment. So with the IMF coming on board, we expect that we should be seeing investor confidence increase, and we should be seeing foreign direct investment inflows into Papua New Guinea.
Now, what is PNG's current debt to GDP ratio based on the IMF's assessment?
So based on official numbers, the country's debt to GDP ratio is around 50% of GDP. So it's not on the high end. If you compare it to other countries in the Asia Pacific region, it's not on the high end, it's not on the very low end. It sort of sits not even in the middle, it sort of sits a bit on the lower end. So the country's debt is entirely sustainable. And if it wasn't sustainable, the IMF wouldn't be providing a financing program.
So when is this going to happen? They've just already announced that now we're over leveraged, we're more in debt. We have a cash flow crisis in the country right now. We're struggling to meet payroll for public servants. We're struggling to put fuel in the car of policemen and women. We're struggling to ensure that schools have operational funds. Inflation has created a cost of living crisis for Papua New Guineans. A bag of rice that was 40 Kina is now 100 Kina. That's a 150% increase. Not the 1.3% historic inflation rate announced by this IMF staffer. Reality does not match the rhetoric. The time has come for us to take stock of the total economic mismanagement of the country by the Marape government and make sure that this November, in round 2 of the VONC, we oust this totally incompetent government led by their Prime Minister, the Honourable James.
The stagnation of wages, what can be done about it to improve the cost of living?
So that's a very important question, right? So people on the one hand talk about how the price level has been rising. And if you look at the actual data, it's been rising for many, many years, for over a decade now. I think you've asked a very important question. The question is, why haven't wages, why hasn't household income not risen in line with the cost of living? And there's many reasons for that, but one significant reason for that is down to the fact that there have been FX shortages. What the FX shortages have done is they have significantly hampered investment spending, and they have significantly hampered the country's ability to attract foreign direct investment. Now, what does that mean? These FX shortages have essentially generated lower GDP growth. And what is the biggest determinant of driving wages and household income? It's essentially GDP growth. So if you can deal with the FX shortages, which is essentially a reflection of the fact that the Kina is overvalued, you can make a more conducive business environment, which in turn will generate more investment, which in turn will generate more GDP growth, which in turn should hopefully push up wages and household income. The final point I'll make on this is that if you look at surveys of CEOs done in Papua New Guinea, they rank FX shortages as the single biggest impediment to their business growth in this country.
It's a good segue into our next question.